I'm Billy Weeks. Thank you for having me here, and Stanley, I really appreciate you having us together today. I guess I'm a documentary photographer in some ways, but right now I am I guess I'm a lecturer at the University of Chattanooga. I have recently taken a full-time position as in higher education, which has been a real interesting few months for me. Learned a lot, which I greatly appreciate. So I have a lot of things to kind of talk about, and I have a little bit of a multimedia piece I'm going to show toward the end. But basically, what I'm going to do is really talk a little bit about myself and about my work, and mostly about the subjects, because that's what's most important. So last night, I was kind of putting everything together last night. Sorry, Stanley, I waited to the last minute. And I was putting things together last night, and in my room, boy, I have an office upstairs, and it's all covered with junk. And I do that on purpose because when it was all nice and clean, my daughter would come in and steal all my music. So now I hide it, and it's underneath my camera bags and stuff. Nobody goes up there but me and the dog. So last night, yeah, I was up there, and I heard somebody come up the steps, and it was my wife. And I always know I'm in trouble when Annette shows up. And it went like this. Billy, don't show those terrible dark photos. Show the funny pictures first. So, my wife said, show the funny pictures first. So I will. First of all, my very first entry into journalism, period, was as a student photographer at the university newspaper, which is the Echo. I am now the advisor to the University Echo, so it's awesome for me to get to return to that. But I did something while I was there as a student. I photographed a Barry Manilow concert. I did. I promise I did. And you know what? It wasn't all that bad. I can say that now. I wouldn't tell you, back in those days, I wouldn't tell anybody that. But today, I can tell you, it wasn't all that bad. So photographed it, and I was shooting film, right? And then I go home. Okay. Next morning I have a law class, and I'm late, and it's pouring down rain. And I jump in my car, and I go driving down the road, and I'm in such a hurry. And I get to the corner market because I got to stop and put gas in the car. I'm about out. Hit the brakes, slide into the gas pump, grab the gas pump. I only had a few dollars with me, and I started pumping gas. The funniest thing happened. It was about the middle of November, and right up to the front door of the little market, this happened. Okay. So I grab my camera, still has Barry Manilow on it, and I go running up, and I make 3 frames, and the frames are not very good. As a matter of fact, they're so overexposed, it's ridiculous. If you look real hard, you'll see me. I'm reflected over to your left-hand side of that frame. So I thought, okay, nothing to it, right? So I go back and I process the film, and it's really overexposed. Make a couple of photos, try to make a print. Wasn't very good at printing at the time. Took it down to the newspaper and said, hey, I made this picture today. You publish it? And the guys kind of looked at me and said, okay, I'll publish it. And he did. Put it on the AP Wire. It goes all over the world. The next thing I know, I'm in newspapers everywhere from a picture and from a kid who had no idea what he was doing. So the picture led to an internship, which led to a staff position, which led to being the team leader, which led to being a picture editor, which led to being director of photography, which led to being director of photography and graphics, which led to be an AME, which was a long path to say, I'm retired. So what did I do next? I went looking for more birds walking across the street, and I found this one. Here's the story about this photo. Oh my goodness. I was listening to the scanner, and the boss, I had the scanner on, I knew something was going on, the boss called me, and or sent me a pager thing, and said, I need you to call me. So I did, and he said, there is a military jet that's crashed way out in Walker County, which is out in the rural areas. So I went and found this place, but I turned down this road because the crashed airplane is at the other end of this road, and I see this sign, and if you look real close, you can see about 10 chickens all around the side there, and I go, well, wait a minute, do I go photograph a plane crash or do I photograph chickens? Well, you see what decision I made. So that's what I did. And then there's this. Okay. So if you're from Tennessee, you see black bears a lot. They're around. They're around where I live, and I see them often, actually. This is actually made up in the Smoky Mountains, which is a ways away. And what I really love about this photo, this was actually an assignment to work with the University of Tennessee and photograph the black bear population. And what I loved about this particular photo is that it's a bear, that it's at a lunchbox, that there's a golf club sitting down beside it, and that there's a guy hiding in a tree. There's a guy hiding in a tree. It's a bear. He's hiding in a tree. I wonder what he's thinking. And Mark Johnson, this is for you. And the next one afternoon, I went up to the lake thinking I'll go up and make some photographs of people fishing, and I saw this. 67 aqua car, I believe, Mark. That's what it kind of looks like to me. So, all right, enough with the funny pictures. Let's get to work. So, I thought what I would do is two things. I'm going to show you kind of individual people that I want you to sort of meet, which I call the 11 people. And I'm going to talk a little bit about them, and then I'll show a little bit more expanded version on the multimedia piece if we have time, and hopefully we will. So first of all, I want you to meet Rilvidia. She is, and Robin, I'm so thankful that you were talking about your work, because this project is actually based off special needs also, and we'll see a little bit of this in a minute. But this is a 16-year-old who's dealing with some special needs, and this is where she lives. And this is in near Leon, Nicaragua, and a small village called Tamasquore. And in Tamasquore is a village that's built around the city dump. And the whole environment, the whole economy of this village revolves on the city dump. They recycle there. And it's a big deal. It's a big deal for them, because if you take away the dump, these people have to move or they go hungry. And well, they're already hungry, but they go hungry early. So it's kind of a big deal. I got asked by an organization who wanted to build a school and wanted to have part of that school be a special needs school, to go to this village and find people to make photos of that fit the mission statement, which was basically go and find children that have special needs. Now here's the thing. Because these people deal and live in areas that are really heavily polluted, there's a really high number, and I don't know, some of them are physical disabilities, others are birth defects and other things, and I don't really have the background to speak in detail about what was wrong, but you could just tell. So I went and I started looking. The neatest thing happened. I found her. She was just up the street from where they were wanting to build a school, and I walked in and I introduced myself to her and her family. Found out that her mom has a horse and buggy. I love horse and buggies. And you know what? I ended up renting the family and their horse and buggy to drive me around the village so that I could meet everybody, which led to me finding 28 families that had children with disabilities, and which led to many other things, because I could have easily walked around that village and been just fine. But your success rate, anytime you walk into an area where you're not comfortable or don't know the people, your success rate is only as good as who you walk through the door with. Only as good as who you walk through the door. That day, the mom's name is Justina. I was walking through the door with her. And as she would drive me around the village, I would get to meet people, I get to talk to people, and oh my goodness, the next thing you know, I'm invited in, I have opportunities to make pictures, I'm, though I'm working with a translator, by the time I left, I had a lot of friends there, and it was greatly appreciative. I'm gonna have to go faster here. Here's another one. This is Abel, and Abel lives in Guatemala. And there's a little piece in this video that I'm going to show you that Abel's family, 18 members of his family, were all killed at one time in one house. in the Guatemalan conflict back in the 90s. Abel took me, walked with me over through the jungle, and took me to the house. Oh my goodness, it was so emotional. Where he is standing in this photo is where the bodies were. Killed him at the home, dragged him down the hill, put them in the ditch. He stood there. He stood there. This is Marcos. Marcos is in Honduras. Marcos, I was doing with a medical group, and I had somebody from the village come to me and say, the poorest man in Honduras is living up on the hill. I want you to go meet him. And he was referring to Marcos. Marcos is somebody who has some physical and mental disabilities, and he would chew on his arm quite a bit. His mom, in this picture, who's in the background, got very sick and had to be taken to the hospital. And when she was gone, we came in and supplied food and stuff to take care of Marcos and his brother, which is another interesting story. Maribel, this was in Las Vegas, Nicaragua. Well, there is a place. I don't know how much gambling goes on there, but I will tell you there's a lot of drinking that goes on there, because I saw a motorcycle crash in front of me, and then I went back the next day and picked the guy up off the street because I was afraid he was going to get run over by a bus. But I went to her house and met her and her family, and I noticed that they had this sheet, and this is the sheet that works as a door in between rooms, hung up. And she was just standing there looking at me. And I just had to make that photo. This is Jackson. He's also from Thomas Jorge, and he deals with a lot of anxiety. And I thought just getting him a little bit of space in this photo kind of added a little bit to the structure of the image. He also loves dogs, and I just, he was in this room. His mom brought me in, and I didn't do a thing to him. I just made the photo. As soon as we finished the picture, he goes out and grabs a couple of dogs around the neck, and he's walking around with those, and that was kind of funny too. And then there's this guy. This guy, I was in a village in Honduras, and he came up there, and he was walking down the road, he and his brother, and he had this guitar. And I love to carry an audio recorder with me when I go, and he invited me up to the top of the mountain with him. And I got to tell you, it was what I thought was going to be a few minutes walk ended up being an hour and a half, and it was straight up, and it was really rough. And once we got there, they just sit down and play mountain music for me, and I just loved it. And usually when I get to this point, I play it. But I don't have enough time today to play that music for you. I will tell you, it's really bad. I am also a baseball fanatic, and just about everywhere I go, I tend to try to photograph baseball. And sometimes I do it on a higher level. I've covered World Series and everything all the way down, but I try to do it in the backyards. And this is also in Nicaragua, where baseball is very prominent there. And I've also been to Dominican and some of the other countries where they do it also. But in this image, I was kind of laying down where a catcher would be with a 20mm lens on, and just really hoping this guy could actually get the ball. If he couldn't, I was in trouble. And I was driving down the road, and I met Mary, and I was actually in between two villages that I was going to, and she and her family were living in a bus. So I just kind of stopped and, go up and introduce myself, right? Go up and do an introduction. Go up and talk to them. And they were okay with talking to me, which led to okay on making photos. And then there's Sebastian, who, oh my goodness, I was sitting there and making this photo in this village of him, and the whole time he was trying to give me mangoes. I ate mango after mango after mango, and I don't even like mangoes. But he was really an amazing character, and he had this amazing hat on, and his front yard of his house there was covered in mango trees. And I've got a couple that I'm not going to tell you their names, and I'm going to tell you why. This particular photo, and I made this a few years ago. This picture haunts me all the time, and I see this photo, and I always struggle with it because, you know, our photos are only as good as the questions they bring you. If your photos are bringing you answers, you got the wrong photo. If your photos are presenting questions to you and to the people that are looking at it, then they are working for you and they are doing their job. This picture brings a lot of questions to me. This is a center for abused girls in Managua. There's only one left in the entire country of Managua. This is a 12-year-old and her 22-day-old son. And every time I look at this picture, it absolutely kicks my backside. It just does. I don't understand why this has to happen. I just don't understand it, but it does. And you know, I don't want to be the guy who didn't do anything about it. I really don't. But I'm not going to tell you her name, and I struggle with even showing this picture, but I think it's important. And then the last one is this one. This photograph is on the side of a, right outside of an area where they make bricks. This lady's family were basically slaves. Slave labor to the Brick Foundation, and they had taken a debt from a smaller, they lived in a small village, and they had taken up debt. They needed either food or housing or something, and they had to borrow some money, and whoever they borrowed the money from actually sold the debt to the brick factory, which means they had to go and work for the brick factory to pay off the debt. Which basically means the entire family comes to the brick factory, which basically means that that the adults work to pay the debt off, and the children work so that they can live. And they carry bricks, and they carry 20 or 30 bricks on their backs, and they do it all day. And it breaks my heart to see something like that. couple of real quick things in closing here. First of all, never considered myself much of a photographer. Photography, I'm not even sure I even like it. It's never been about photography. It's always about reporting, and it's always about subjects, and it's the subjects that make photos, not photography. And don't ever lose perspective of that. The other thing is that I was listening to the radio on the way down, and there was a song that was playing about a young man who woke up one morning and he turned on the TV news and he saw such terrible things happening around the world, and he just couldn't take it, and he was angry, and he looked up and he screamed at God. You know, how could you let this happen? How can we have slave labor, and how can we have a country that doesn't take care of people with disabilities, and we have a country that doesn't do things right for people who need things done? So he screamed up at God, you know, and God answered. You know, you're in trouble. Basically, he said he made him. Here's the thing, guys. We're all here with a purpose. We're here with, you know, for a reason. You're here to do something. I don't want to be the guy who doesn't do anything. That camera you have, those words that you write, are some of the most powerful, strongest things in the world. We are communicators. And being a communicator means you're the most dangerous person in the world. Thank you very much.